Welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast that has the science and the screaming to determine what the best movie is of any given year. This year, 2002. I'm your host, Mike Gravano, but before I introduce this week's panelists, know this, that this show is also a game, in which points are awarded for well-made arguments, cogent thoughts about the film, jokes, and you know what? Anything else I gosh darn please feel like awarding. The winner would be my best friend for a week and have gloating rights. And I'm sorry to say, the winner of last week and my best friend died on the way back to his home planet and will not be returning this week. We miss you, T-Money. So, instead, we got a couple. It was going to be just a Mike and Taylor mess around. But you know what? I can do this. I grabbed a couple people on the streets. I don't know them. They don't know me. We'll see how well they know this movie or if they've seen it before. Put your hands together for Greg.
I'm random person off the street, Greg, and I hope to God the movie you want to talk about is Morvern Callar.
Oh, yeah. What a lucky week it is for you.
Oh, sweet. Because I happen to have watched this movie twice just this week.
Because we're not talking about Morvern Callar. We need to talk about Morvern Callar, but you were never really here at all, Greg, so we're not going to. And Ryan.
Thanks, Mike, for having me. Mike, can I just say, I don't know. People, I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. How do you keep your composure and host when just not like minutes before we started the show, we did a little special segment only for Pay Pigs, and it was so wonderful and mind blowing and hilarious, and people really need to subscribe to it. Thoughtful, and like you have put your mind back in your head just to host, and I think that's so impressive.
Be a goldfish, Ryan.
Never a gold.
Never a gold. Always.
It
a
was.
fish.
I think a big part of what made the Pay Pig segment so good was just like you could tell we had done the prep. You know, like we had done the work.
Put the work in.
We came with answers that made sense. And
our hands, feet, and tongues were calloused because we do the hard work.
Yeah. Remember that part in Lord of the Rings where he goes to the library and does all the research? That was us. We each went to our own library to do research.
The one time we're allowed to do research. And so you can hear that over at patreon.com/yourpopfilter.
Now, Taylor's not here. He won and then disappeared. And I would like to say that Greg and I had nothing to do with that disappearance.
Oh.
Just going to put that out on Main Street, that we had nothing to do with that.
Honestly, I don't care what the forensic evidence says. I wasn't there.
And even though I keep saying over and over again, fuck that little bitch, we didn't do anything.
Well,
we meant that in a friendly way.
I think that's proof, because if you had done something, there's no way you would walk around saying, fuck that little bitch.
Oh, Sharon Stone's going to write a book about how she actually killed the people? No. That's insane. She's obviously just going to basic instinct them.
That's why I know OJ's innocent. If he had done it, he would not have written the best-selling book if I had done it.
I know everything is a bestseller, but was that really a bestseller?
Books don't sell a lot of product, Ryan.
Uh-huh.
So to go off the shelves, what a bestseller.
Yeah. Plus, that was probably one where like he did the thing where he just had boxes and boxes. Some company owned by OJ.
The Juice bought them for himself.
Yeah.
It's in the
What if I did it? I want to see.
Before the 90s, albums, before the soundscape system, they would just call a random 10 stores around the country and then be like, yeah, here based on my gut, Janet Jackson sold a lot this week. And that's kind of what books are currently like.
They would not say that, though, Mike. Specifically not Janet and En Vogue.
Oh.
Yeah. That's how...
Green Day.
Yeah. That's how why rap was not popular at all until it was extremely popular, because they were selling millions of copies, but the people who own the record stores were not reporting them.
But Green Day was also not reported. It was always just like Engelbert Humperdinck.
Always Engelbert and the Humperdinks.
Tiny Tim has done it again.
That's not what we're here to talk about, but it is. You said something that jogged my memory. Is
Morvern Callar. When he said Morvern Callar.
I killed a guy, but no, I didn't. Let's just go party. Morvern Callar. And normally at this point, I ask what your relationship to the movie before this week was, but come on. It was fucking zero. Don't try to lie to me.
Ryan, did you even were you even aware of what this was?
Yeah, because the director is really famous.
Oh yeah, because we need to talk about Kevin, and you were never really here.
Right, and those are two.
Ratcatcher.
And then Ratcatcher. So oddly, this is her least famous movie. And there's a huge gap between Morvern Callar and we need to talk about Kevin. But I do remember this movie as like a lot of train spotting heads were all about it. I think there's a lot of connections to the two books those movies are based on, the country that the movies take place in, obviously. But like the whole like cool factor. This is like a cool movie that cool kids like. But I mean, I didn't know what the plot was. The only thing I knew going in just from like the ether was Thelma and Louise-ish.
Yeah, I remember when you pitched it, because you're kind of the reason we watched it. I remember thinking it was like a road trip movie, and now I guess reviewing it, I can see there's elements of that. But that's
if you're not trying to give anything away, I guess that's how you would describe it.
And I wouldn't even want to know that if I could know nothing. But I will say that I think we've said this a couple of times throughout this season. I will say it definitively here. No movie of the 16 has benefited more from there being 16 movies than Morvern Callar. I meant to look up the bracket to see what it beat on its way. Because it wasn't that we wanted to watch Morvern Callar. It was probably against such shit we did not want to watch.
Sometimes you get bounced in hard.
Yeah, and then there's no way that it would have survived another round. But to me, not to give too much away, but like to me, there's no way it would have made it to the Elite Eight, and it's a part of the reason why I'm so glad we're doing a Sweet 16, because like you get to see this kind of shit that like isn't as big of a deal as it should be.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what's the brutal cold system we've created. That's what's hard in the first round. If you haven't heard of something, you're going on rep, and if something has very little rep.
And I mean, to be fair, to be the movie of the year, a lot of it is standing in society.
Right.
we do go by that. So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll get to its how good its odds are later.
Right.
I do feel like we always have a couple of these per season, though, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think I can remember. I don't remember what it beat, Ryan, but I remember there was an element of like we are supposed to keep a couple spots open for things that are potentially going to change our lives. And this is definitely one of those movies. Like, it's fun to talk about the movies that everybody saw. And honestly, those are the ones that have the inside track for our movie of the year. But this is the kind of thing where it's like, I would not have seen this otherwise. And I don't think I would have agreed to watch it otherwise. And it was a movie I got to see knowing, like, not literally nothing about, but yeah, no, literally nothing
literally
about.
Nothing about.
So every scene, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen next. Like, I have no idea what happens next in this. And that experience is the most exciting part of doing this show. So, like, I think of movies like Morvern Callar when I think of why I love doing this show. It's because I get to see things I never would have seen that literally change my, like, artistic life or, change my view of the world.
Yeah, I think the last time I knew so little about a movie that every scene just made me go, oh, yeah, oh, was Parasite, because I knew nothing except the director. So I knew even more about that than this, because I knew the director. And the whole time just like, huh?
You guys want to know its route to the Sweet 16?
Yes, yeah, please. Dude, lay it on us.
So it's the 61st seed.
Damn.
Out of 64. First round, it comes up against the 4th seed. And I think this is so rough. It's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and we're just not like that was part of the whole thing with the show in the beginning. Is like that's why we have a bracket. That's why we don't go directly from Letterboxd. Is we don't want to do a Harry Potter movie every year.
No.
The second round is a little more surprising to me. 36th seed Bend It Like Beckham, and that movie has such a I don't know. It's just so much more well known, and it's a really good movie. I don't know what happened here.
I bet Hurricane Ryan came in and convinced Soft Boys Greg and Mike that this would be more interesting to do.
Maybe, but
that's what I think. I don't think you like crapped on the movie, Ryan, but I do think that this has your hand on it. Like I think you kind of got us to do this movie. I think you just what I remember is that you were like, there's just going to be way less to say about Bend It Like Beckham.
Yeah, high floor, low ceiling for Bend It Like Beckham.
Yeah.
And then that was it. It then went on to lose to Battle Royale in the Sweet 16. And then we were like, no, the Sweet 16 is not over. We're doing them all.
Do them all.
because we will actually have a round and then be like, no.
Well, now we will.
Like sports
terrifying
does.
precedent was set.
But this, while we're talking about it, this has been a good move, right? Like, we've enjoyed doing the 16 movies. It makes for a long season, but it's why we have Morvern Callar, because I don't want to get rid of Battle Royal either. I want both in the season.
If we want to have an on-air work meeting, I think that we should fight really hard not to go to 32. I don't see how we go back on this, because like part of the show is just being immersed in that year.
Yeah.
And even though we try to keep the Chamber of Secrets back, the Elite Eight gets so flooded with, those kind of movies, and you need the flavor. And it's not just the flavor, it's the foreign flavor. Like, this is Scotland in 2002,
If we go back to 8, it's because that a real indictment on whatever year makes us do that. Because we're gonna get to it and be like, I don't want to watch these 8, so fuck no, we're not doing 16.
I won't say anything to the audience or even you two. You two are kept in secret, but I have taken a little look into the future. We're not going back to 8, guys. We're just fucking not. Yeah.
Never. All right. Well, with that, meeting adjourned, and we're going to take the quickest of break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Morvern Callar. 5 years before Michael Clayton was the MC everyone cared about, the OG MC was spitting straight out of Scotland. That's right, we're talking about Lynn Ramsey's Morvern Callar. Before we need to talk about Kevin and You Were Never Really Here, Ramsey co-wrote and directed a little tale of the titular MC as she deals with her boyfriend's suicide by stealing his novel, chopping up his body, and using his funeral money for a trip to Spain with her friend Lana. Adventure ensues. Taste buds, I ask you this. We don't usually ask broad questions on the show, but what's the deal with this broad Morvern? No, but seriously, folks, Morvern spends the first 30 minutes of the movie, the first 90 minutes of the movie, really, doing some heinous sociopathic shit. Do Morton and Ramsey do anything to keep you on her side?
First of all, can I just point out, like, cute thing with the whole MC thing, but what is this erasure of Morvern Callar's scat cat? That is the ultimate MC.
The ultimate MC.
I believe in the Pop Filter Hall of Fame.
Hall of Famer, right?
Pop Filter Hall of Famer. MC Scat Cat. Wow. Thank you, the Pop Filter historian, for keeping me honest.
The most curious part of this movie is, like, why does she decide to do the things she decides to do? Because usually if you don't report somebody being dead, it's because you murdered them. It's not like this guy very clearly took his own life. But she sort of acts from that point forward as if she has done it. And I think what it all amounts to is that she can't face the enormity of what has happened. Like how upsetting it is to find him like that, how upsetting it is that it seems to come a little bit out of nowhere and completely alter her life. And it seems like so much of her life and the life of people around her is dedicated to not facing reality, to trying to stay a couple steps ahead of reality and party nonstop and drink nonstop and fuck nonstop and dance nonstop, just so that we don't have to look at what the world around us is like.
Is it? Just so everybody knows, Greg walked in with a smoking hot lady. So
I do everywhere. She's my wife, Kelly.
I don't know why you walked into the podcast studio with her. But
just reminding everybody.
Doing a lap.
I'm married.
Is it not, and I think this is a really interesting question that I'm about to ask, is it not face reality, or is it to change reality? Is it like there's this specific reality that Morvern, is that her name?
Morvern.
Thinks that she should be involved in. I think in a break last week, in between recording, Greg was like, man, doesn't it start to realize that we're all just not special people? And that's the age we're at. That's not the age Morvern's at. Morvern is in her early 20s. And I think that she has this idea of what life should be. And I think that part of it is, I think there's a million things going on with her. And I love how it's not laid out. But like between the depression, between the crippling, like, I can't move forward with this, but also like I deserve something better. And I'm going to be opportunistic in this situation that has presented itself in front of me.
Yeah, because at first it just seems like it's Christmas. I kind of want to go drink with my friends. I'll deal with this later. That was how I assumed. Was yeah. I guess I sort of
we
get
all
that.
have that mess in our house that we just can't face, even though like it's kind of gross to just leave it there.
But even right there, Mike, you're describing millennial to Gen Z. Like right away, you're leaving out like that. This is anti-boomer what you're saying, or this is not how boomers deal with things.
Because boomers deal with things.
Because boomers deal with things, yeah. And like,
do they?
Boomers would probably call the cops on this body and get it
They
arrested.
love cops.
But no, if you say
get
that,
over here and arrest this dead guy.
I know I need to get a job, but I can't get out of bed. You know, like I think that's something that we've come to learn is like kind of a serious, very real thing that older people would be like, oh, you're just a lazy piece of shit.
Right.
You
and
know?
Like, what kind of future does she have? Like, she's 20-something and she works at a supermarket, and you get the sense that it's like kind of displaced whatever other plans there might have been in that community. Like now everything kind of flows through that market and through the bars in the area, and it just kind of feels like she lives in a little bit of a wasteland. And
a townie. She's a townie.
Yeah. Is it a wasteland, or this is just what a small town life is like?
Right.
Well, I think it's a capitalist wasteland. I mean, I think kind of it's like a place where there's no future and no hope, because like you can't. I'm guessing that you can't have like a little cute store in this town anymore. That like now instead of having a little seaside shop, that there is just like a big Walmart that she kind of works at, and that she's going to be stuck at if she doesn't do this. She's going to be stuck there for probably ever.
And her best friend is, we got to talk about Lana after we talk about Kevin, which is like, Lana is less sophisticated, we'll say, right? And it seems to be okay with like, I'm just waiting for that next weekend fun time, you know?
Right. Weekend warrior.
Right. And this small town life, we can get through it. Or I'm not seeing a bigger picture than outside of this town. And I think
it's not crushing me though. It's like
right.
Whereas it crushes Morvern, it seems like
there's times that I bet Morvern is jealous of Lana because if you could like get around all this terrible feeling that you have because you feel stuck, then you would do that.
Yeah, because if you live in a small town, you either say 6 eggs, that's too expensive, or there must be something more than this provincial life. Those are the two kinds of people. And Lana, 6 eggs is too expensive.
But it's very hard to read what Morvern is like, and it's hard to know what was like before this happened to her, and it's hard to know what she was like before she got together with this guy, Jesse, that ends up taking his life. And because of all that, it's not clear if she is just kind of dumbfounded by what has happened, because she seems stunned. And Lana like even says that about her, like, you seem off tonight. But then she kind of stops saying that. But at least for the camera and for the audience, it seems like no, she is still absolutely like
not emotive.
Yeah,
well,
just
but like
insensate. Like, I mean, just like completely flattened and drained of everything.
I don't know how this casting went down. I don't know. Like, if I was Ramsey or if I was the casting director or whoever, and I never met Samantha Morton, I would have just canceled the fucking movie, because what this lady's able to do with not moving her face.
Yes.
Is absolutely,
or just like moving it so little that it almost is like not moving.
We talked about The Passion of Joan of Arc, the old like 1920s, 1910s, 1920s movie. When we talked about Minority Report, right, and how we talked about how those close-ups on Samantha Morton were pulled from Passion of Joan of Arc. It's here too, just one of the greatest faces, Samantha Morton, in the history of Hollywood. Two movies from this season have been taking advantage of it, and what that leaves us is we're not watching the drama. We're watching her watch the drama the entire time. Like, it's not like what's going to happen next. Who else is she going to like? What other dead body is there going to be? It's just what will Samantha do with her face, and what. I don't know, clues can we pick up on her past and her future, you know? I don't think it was an abusive relationship, but I don't think it was a fulfilling one. You know, I mean, she's never been fulfilled.
It feels very clear that Jesse was like looked down on her for being a townie, and he has like higher aspirations. Like, that's the vibe of he's writing his novel. He often bails on hanging out with people so he can write his novel. He has all this music. Like he's your...
A guy at the bar calls him Dostoevsky, which I think is an interesting, like, illusion, of all the authors to use it as him, Dostoevsky, like brooding and dark and everything like that.
And he says it like mockingly.
Oh, yeah,
it's not
for sure.
a compliment. Yeah, it's just like, oh, look at the tortured artist. Look how up his own buddy could be. But is there any way to tell? Like, are there hints of what she used to be like? Because I don't know.
Besides
if the movie,
Lana saying you seem off, like I really don't think there are, and I think that the movie avoids the artificial means by which sometimes we rely in movies. And if you use voiceover, so help me God. Like, she doesn't keep a journal. She doesn't, she hardly unbares her soul to anybody. Like, she really doesn't say much of anything. All we have is the canvas of Samantha Morton's face. And even that is like as subtle a text as we've had on this show before, because she does so much by doing almost nothing with that. And the camera just has these very long shots of her like reading something or clicking through the internet or thinking about what she's going to do next or listening to music. And we have to interpret the movie through the lens of watching her face in those moments. And that like pulls you in so much, I think, because you have to create the text along with the film. There's just no way to not be a participant in the manufacture of meaning.
I mean,
like watching this movie,
it's crazy to be rooting for this person, and that's such a weird term to say about characters. Like, nobody cares if you're rooting for it, like her or him, like it's a sports team. But I do root for her. I want her to find happiness, and it's because it becomes abundantly clear that that's impossible. It's just never gonna fucking happen. There's this inability to be fulfilled that's sort of trained in her. I think that the way that men are shot in this movie, the way that men are she reacts to men. I think that she's been controlled. She hasn't made a lot of decisions her entire life. That's why I think that the suicide is an opportunity. But look at her. The two of them use Jesse's funeral fund to take a trip to Spain. Mm-hmm. And when it's going well, they're both having fun. She's like, fuck it, we're leaving right now. This is not giving me whatever I thought it was going to, because, nothing ever will until something happens. I don't know what, but it's this whole unfulfillment thing.
You don't see it.
And I do think it's pretty clear that he was exceptionally controlling of her. And I think men controlling women is a huge theme. Because if you think about it, taking his life in the way that he did is at least rude to her, or doesn't consider her. But then the note he leaves is you have to stay he's like Hamlet or something. He's like, no, you have to stay alive, Horatio, and tell my story. He gives Morwen chores to do once he's gone, and go send it to this editor and send it to this editor and send it to this. Obviously this is a guy who is used to just bossing her around.
This might be nitpicky, but hey, I'm dead now, I will still be choosing the soundtrack for the rest of this film.
Yeah, dude. And you'll only listen to the music that I choose for everybody. And so I think that even something about his authorial presence is he writes the novel for her. And I love how she interprets that as well, actually, what would really make it mine is if I just went ahead and put my name where yours is. Don't you as a viewer wonder if the novel is about her? So did F. Scott Fitzgerald kind of steal her life and put it into the story anyway? So it's her story anyway, whether or not his is the name that goes on the top of it.
I also know enough about Morvern that she didn't fucking read it. I bet she just said,
oh no, dude.
She sent that shit right off.
I mean, she looked at the first, she didn't even go to the first page of text. She just looked at the title page and then was like, okay, anyway, I'm just going to put my name right here.
I think the only hint we get other than Lana is that Morven wakes up on the floor of their apartment next to his dead body. So it's not like she's chasing substances to deal with his death. That is clearly ingrained in her to get blackout, pass out.
Mike, you ever been a townie? You do a lot of drugs and you drink a whole bunch.
Because what else is there to
do?
I want so badly to be a townie someday. That is what I aspire to be.
She walks up to her friend, and her friend just hands her a pill. Doesn't even say what it is, and then she just takes it. And I swear, this is the artistic context of mid-90s and that's when the book came out, Scotland as well. This was, very much like all the stories out of Scotland where people just like getting blackout drunk and then doing drugs nonstop. But yeah, like she obviously has this problem from way back.
But I don't.
It's part of her like dealing with the brutality of life, I think.
I do think that there's an interesting relationship that the movie has with drugs and alcohol, though, because I do think that she's using, but I wouldn't say it doesn't. I don't think that she's in danger a lot. Like I'm not worried about her going to rehab or learning lessons that like killing a kid in a DUI. Like I don't. That's not what it is. And then we get to an interesting point where I want to say she's in a bathroom and she makes eye contact with a girl who is absolutely fucking gone. Like eyes crossed, can barely stand up, leaning
They're
against
like
the wall.
rolling around in her head.
And yeah, her eyes, yeah. And there's this point where I think, Morvern's gonna get her out of there, be a hero. But it's just not. It's not what the MC does. I think what she does do. This movie takes place in the MCU, right?
Yeah.
I think what she does is see like, do I look like that? Am I using drugs and alcohol to that point? Or not even that. Like, am I like that even when I'm not? Am I just a zombie in my life? I think she uses this girl to be like a touchstone on her feelings about herself as opposed to any thoughts about the girl whatsoever.
She's very much a visual foil. I mean, she is like the visual rhyme to Morvern Callar because she looks like her. And we see her like a couple of different. This is the second of the 2 times that we see her. We also see her by the pool in that weird like switch your bathing suits, and now the girl's topless, and everybody like like monkeys. Everyone's
laughing except for her, sort of, who's again her eyes are just.
It's like
gone.
the same thing, yeah. And like she seems like wasted and disassociating and humiliated and upset, and so like I think that she very much sort of like stands for the. This is how much worse it could be for this character if she doesn't take control of her life, which we see her in the process of doing the entire movie.
Yeah. That is all the hot time we have to talk about the MC. We're going to take the quickest of breaks, and when we come back, move over to an MT.
Mount Rushmore!
Now's the time when we go to our backyard at the Pop Filter Studio in lovely Burbank, California, and we'll look at all the mountains we have wrought, and it is time to wrought yet another. But this will not be for presidents. This will not be for your pedestrian hot boys or hot girls. Nay, in honor of this movie, and also, you know what, let me say, the board gave this to us before we saw this movie, so blame them. This is a Rushmore to the most unintelligible characters of pop culture.
First of all, a couple of things, Mike. One, we were given this assignment before we watched the movie, but did you watch this movie without subtitles?
I was terrified you're going to just ask me, did I watch this movie? And it's not an answer I'm willing to give yet. No, yeah, I use subtitles. You had to have subtitles.
You have
I don't
to have
speak
subtitles.
Scottish. I'm sorry.
And like
they say it's English. No, it's not.
Like most movies nowadays, you have to watch with subtitles. And so at first I didn't even notice it because I have subtitles on for everything. But if you turn them off for a scene, like, forget about it, man.
Yeah.
And it's kind of exciting and cool that like they could speak the same language in such a different way. But also, like, there's a bunch of words they have that they use that are weird, too. So
the slang isn't as thick as in other Scottish movies I've seen. But, like, it got to the point where, like, if they were off for one scene, I would say forget about it. My other thing is that if you guys ever see me walking, and you drive past me, roll down your window, and scream at me, "Pedestrian hot boy." That's my new nickname.
That is a new indie sleaze band for sure, right? They're opening for Phoebe Bridgers.
Do you like the singular or the plural?
I like this group of 5 women are pedestrian hot boy. Nice. They write the most fun, sad songs. All right, let's dive right into it. Greg, give me your first unintelligible character in your best impression of them.
Dang old friend of Hank Hill, man, in Arlen, Texas, is always speaking sense but don't quite understand. My favorite thing about the character Boomhauer from King of the Hill is he will go like that for like 2 minutes, and that's funny and it's always enjoyable. But the thing that will always make me laugh so loud, no matter how many times I hear it, is after Boomhauer does his like word jazz. Hank Hill going, "You said it, Boomhauer." Dude, that's my favorite thing, I think, like, on TV, is just Hank Hill going, "Great point, Boomhauer."
I mean, like, if you have a Groot in your squad, like the three of us do with Taylor, then you have to throw something at the end of like, nobody's ever said it better than that, my friend.
Because otherwise you have to acknowledge you tuned out a sentence in. Greg, I think we just found your pocket. You could do a whole recreation of King of the Hill characters talking to each other solo.
Yeah.
A one-man show.
I'll start with Khan. Just kidding, America. I never would do that.
Do you mean voiced by character actor Toby Huss, the whitest white guy in America?
Is that true?
Yep.
That's always so disappointing to find out, and it's always the case.
Literally always. Just for drama's sake, Boomhauer's on the maybe pile.
What?
I know.
I thought by getting to go first, I thought that was one of those gifts. I was relying on that.
We'll see. We'll see. No egg counting before the chickens come home to roost, as the Scots say. Ryan, who do you got?
The first thing that came to my mind, and this is, you could probably tell when I was born, when I got this assignment, when I rented my hotel room, meditated and thought about it, was Fred Fenster, a name that does not really fit this character, played by Benicio del Toro in the movie The Usual Suspects. No one can understand a word that he says except for his Han Solo to Benicio del Toro's Chewbacca, who is always like, "Well said, Fred." But in the very famous light up that like is on the poster and where all five of them quote unquote meet for the first time, they all have to say, "Give me the keys, you fucking cocksucker," and the cops cannot. They have to have him repeat it over and over again.
They can't even understand the thing that they told him to say.
We fed you this line, and we
Give
still
it
don't.
you.
Give me the keys, you fucking. And this is basically through the entire. I cannot believe that. Or I can't. Like, he won an Oscar for this. He won Best Supporting Actor for his role in The Usual Suspects. For just going.
I don't want to say I didn't understand him. Let's give him the award. And he basically makes just that character in space for The Last Jedi, yes?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Well, Fred Fenster is on the maybe pile. Drama. Greg?
All right. Mike Judge just really likes his unintelligible characters. But sometimes they can be angels, like Boomhauer. But other times they can be devils, like Milton from Office Space. He's got the red stapler. He mumbles through everything. I'm gonna, if you keep disrespecting me, I'm gonna have to come back in and burn the building down to turn it all to ashes. And the audience can understand most of what he says, but clearly nobody in universe can understand.
Burn the building down. That should have been a red flag. Like, yeah, I heard that part.
He threatens to burn the building down every time he says anything.
Milton is on the mountain.
Oh,
Mount
yeah.
Milton. Also, like, that is such a iconic one that other movies have now, the voices may be different in their unintelligibility, but there's a character in the Pitch Perfect universe, and she has a very like deep singing voice, but she does like this, and burn their faces off. And that's always all you can understand is she also just says burn. And you're like, oh, they're like, it worked in Office Space, we'll do it too.
Yeah.
Are you shit-talking Pitch Perfect, your favorite trilogy of all time?
I mean, there's been none better. Nobody touches it. I haven't delved into the expanded Pitch Perfect verse with Bumper Goes to Berlin, but
okay,
it's
then
coming.
Then you're not really qualified to talk
Maybe
about
shut your
this
fucking
subject,
mouth then.
Mike.
How about
Well,
that?
I'm talking about
right.
the trilogy.
We're talking about the extended universe that includes all the deep arcana, okay? Oh, understood. I'm out of line.
Just got on the mountain, you son of a bitch. Ryan, who do you got?
I've noticed that over past decade or so, a movie that has been picking up its stock has been rising because it's like a interesting look at the plight of veterans and PTSD. I still claim that the movie is a stinkeroo. I've never seen any of the more famous sequels, but where it really hits its stride is in the final scene when Brian Dennehy finally catches John Rambo. And John Rambo looks at him and gives this speech that needs to be heard to be believed. It's to be unheard to be unbelieved. It like even if you have subtitles on, like the guy writing the subtitles, like what?
I
what
give up.
Like this is insane. Just, you and you. It's like what? Okay, what were the 18 words between the two U's? That I got the U's.
This is why we don't listen to Vietnam veterans. They're too hard to understand.
Was that the whole message of the movie? Is that Brian Dennehy was right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just these
Dennehy's-
guys are unintelligible.
I want those like it's just like iconography of Magneto's helmet, like the graphic tees that say Magneto was right. I want one of that's Dennehy was right.
Dennehy was right.
You pick the movie.
FX2? You mean Brian Dennehy from FX2? I'm sure that this was a poignant thing that veterans needed to have representation on screen. But everyone has their Sly Stallone impression. It all comes from this. Like it is just for 6 minutes.
And that's why Rambo, right on Mount Milton.
Oh, nice. I think this is also why they were like, all right, so that was like a quiet little tiny low budget drama. Clearly he can't do that. Let's make 2 more giant action movies where he can actually, I mean, he's the Vin Diesel of his generation, right? Like make him do stuff because if he has to think or say stuff, it's not going to work.
Why does he look like he's in pain and pooping? He's thinking.
He's trying to remember his lines.
Oh, and pooping. He's always
And
pooping
he's
on
definitely
camera.
Pooping. Gregory.
Ryan mentioned Chewbacca earlier, and I think that's a great one. But I was thinking from the Star Wars universe, one that I like even more is R2-D2. R2-D2 clearly speaks a language that some people can understand. Other people some people have to use a computer to understand what he's saying, but like Luke can kind of like figure out what he's talking about. But R2-D2 is so unintelligible that even though he knows everything that happens over the entire 9 episodes of the movie, he doesn't communicate that to anybody in all his shrieks, whoops, and whistles.
Including J.J. Abrams.
I bet if you accused him, he'd be like, nobody fucking asked.
Now,
Yeah, dude. Nobody's listening to R2-D2.
I have a question because I've never thought about this. If they speak a language you don't understand, that's not unintelligible. You just don't know that language. Does Chewbacca speak Wookiee, or does he just scream a lot? Like, is he?
He's just grunting.
Yeah, he mostly just goes.
Are there?
You can't
is
say
it
that
a,
means 8 different things.
Is it a languageless species?
No, literally they're speaking. They communicate. That's him talking.
Okay, so he's not unintelligible. We just don't understand the language.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot
Yeah.
of these, that's kind of how it is. And that's definitely like R2-D2 is speaking some sort of robot language that like C-3PO understands and other computers understand.
And
And
X-Wings understand, right?
X-Wings
Yeah.
understand, yeah. The computer on the X-Wings translate what he says. And then at some point, Luke sort of just picks up the ability, I guess because he's like seen it translated so much. But yeah, it's not totally unintelligible, I guess, in some of these cases.
And that's why the adorable RT unit will be going right in that Jawa trash compactor.
That's a future drop, folks. Not from Star Wars, from this episode.
All right, let's speed around this shit. Ryan, who you got?
I am a little bit nervous to say this in front of you because of your hatred for this franchise, but the frightening trombone mutants that are adults in the Peanuts universe,
Oh, hell yeah.
I've always found delightful. Just you pick up the phone, and I mean, how do you connect to kids better than showing them that that's how adults sound? Even when when you know English, that's still what they fucking sound like. Talking about debt ceilings and capital gains tax all the time.
All I heard was somebody playing a muted trombone when you just said a few words there.
Man. And adults are like, they say to kids, like, you have to care about the adult world. And kids are just like, nah, I'm so uninterested in what you have to say.
That's kids.
You have money and you don't spend it all on candy. So fuck
You're an
you.
idiot.
How about that?
Peanuts is on the maybe pile. Peanuts adults, specifically. Greg?
from the Looney Tunes universe, the spinning brown sensation, the Tasmanian devil, who does a little bit like a and then like spins in a circle and like a lot of spitting, I guess. But what's that guy saying? Don't know. I think he's trying.
Care,
I think he's
honestly.
attempting to use language, but nobody is quite sure.
It's unintelligible.
Yeah, dude, you can't intelligent.
Ryan?
I think that these movies that were popular in the 90s and early 2000s really hit their peak with Guy Ritchie's or Brad Pitt's performance in Snatch.
Yeah.
Guy Ritchie's
Yeah.
Snatch. That is maybe that's how people talk. We don't know. Frankly, we don't want to know. But I feel like that it's almost a parody of all these movies of like, what the fuck did you just say?
And he's also One Punch Man.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Every fight just lasts one punch.
Even against Bruce Lee.
Your Mount Rushmore of unintelligible characters is Milton. And when I say it, if you could please give a little quick impression. Milton from Office Space.
Get up here in the mountain down.
Rambo from Rambo. Boomhauer from King of the Hill.
Up on this dang old mountain, man. It's not something I want to frankly take for granted. You said it, Boomhauer.
And Brad Pitt from Snatch.
Upside, inside out, living la vida loca.
Unfortunately, you both missed the bonus double point
Really?
character.
Tom Hardy in the last 10 movies that he was in.
That's his thing. He's like, I'm sick of acting, and I'm not going to do the Christian Bale lose weight, gain weight. I'm going to talk in a dumb voice. So Tom Hardy, all these 4 characters are on his shoulders. He is the Atlas underneath the Mount Rushmore.
But he's just going to break them over his knee.
Hell yeah, he will. We're going to take the quickest of breaks, and when we come back, more Morvern Callar.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening so far. And let me just tell you that everything ahead of this commercial is much better than what came before it. That's my guarantee. While I have you here, let me tell you about a website. It's called yourpopfilter.com. And it's everything you need that's related to Pop Filter. Everything Mike, everything Ryan, everything Greg, everything Cassie, everything is there at yourpopfilter.com. While you're there, go to yourpopfilter.com/Amazon. Make that your new Amazon bookmark and do your shopping from there. That way, we get a little piece of the action and Amazon doesn't. Make sure you're also listening to everything that Pop Filter has to offer, which includes the Superhero Show, a podcast that covers every single TV show that's based on a comic book or comic book property, and Movie of the Year, where we sit down and try and figure out what is the single greatest movie of any given year. That's Superhero Show, that's Movie of the Year, and that's yourpopfilter.com. Rate, subscribe, review. Bye!
Taste buds. This is Lynn Ramsey's second of currently 4 films in toto. What do we make of her shooting decisions in a mostly plotless film?
She should never have plot. And I think that I always mess this up. You were never really here.
Yes.
Has like a classic Act 3. There's more of a classic structure, but when it's at its best, it's just I am this zombie walking through life, trying to figure out my life and this child's, and I think that's there. I don't think there's anybody better at that than this, and that's not like the most enticing way to get somebody to watch her movies. But let me tell you, as somebody who has watched most of her movies, do it. You should do it.
But would you recommend her to everybody? Because isn't it just like, well, is it artistic and highfalutin enough because she's making choices and it's not plot beat saves the cat? Are you just like, well, I know how you like film, you would like this, or do you think everybody could get something out of her?
I don't think she's like, this is not Tarkovsky. This is like, there's enough here to hang on to. I think just like we've talked about, Samantha Morton's face is enough to get you through this movie, and the crazy things she does every like 15 minutes. Like this is like a Jim Jarmusch movie, and then in the 15th minute she'll be like, "I'm gonna go saw up this body." So that might be enough. I think
Deadball's accurate Samantha Morton impression.
I'm gonna go saw up this body. We need to talk about Kevin is probably the easiest to recommend because I think that's the most edge of your seat thriller. I'm at a Blockbuster. What do I rent? Kind of movie.
I think if you describe this movie to somebody, it's going to sound like a film that maybe they're not going to have the patience for. But I do think there's a quality to the combination of the direction and the acting of Samantha Morton that like makes it riveting. I mean, if you describe this movie to somebody, except for the parts where you're giving them like the highlights of her like sawing up the body, it's gonna sound boring, you know, like, oh, and then there's this shot where she's clicking through the computer and you just like see her face for 4 minutes.
Whoa!
The experience, yeah, it's good. People are gonna
Edge of your seat.
Yeah. But the experience is that it is riveting, like the flashing of the Christmas light behind her, the like sort of hum of the electricity, like you know, picking up to make the flash and then going down, and like the idle clicking of the mouse. It like you feel totally caught up in it. So it's a real marriage of those two things.
I mean, when she does that, it feels like it's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like the noises are so loud that it feels like she is so small in her world because you can hear the Christmas lights, you can hear the clicking. What I would do if you have to recommend this movie is just say indie movie right there. People are like, oh, okay, oh, yeah, I got it. About 2 female friends, and then then they sort of set themselves, and then like you got a little bit of the spice, which is the friend fucked the other friend's boyfriend, right? And let them find the rest out on their own.
Yeah. Again, and it's hopefully, listeners, you watched this before we started talking about it, but going in with as little knowledge as possible.
I know, Mike, but you're talking to our incredibly intelligent, film-forward audience.
Yes. They put and this is like, I don't want to tell anybody how to live their life, right? But okay. I would say, put your fucking phone in a different house. One, Scottish, you're not going to understand it. 2, with this kind of ambiance and atmosphere that Ramsey and Morton are creating, you're going to miss why this movie is beautiful. If you're like, I got it. I was on Twitter.
Do you know what I do? Is I tape my phone to a brick and then tape a note to all of that and throw it through the neighbor's window. And then the note just says, I'm watching a movie. Could you hold my phone?
What I did is I sawed my phone up into small pieces, and then I went out into the mountains, and over a series of like time, I kind of buried it in small.
Wait,
when
you sawed the phone up, were you wearing your hottest undies and aviators?
Yeah, I put on my aviators, and then I just sort of like strapped my Walkman to my midsection with like athletic tape or something.
Why was that not a bigger Halloween costume in 2002?
That's one
in
where
the universe of this movie, that totally would be.
Yes.
Like, that is something that people would wear in this movie.
You wear that somewhere hip, like Brooklyn or Des Moines or Barstow, you're going to get
all the hot spots.
Some attention.
People are going to get it.
Look, I think that it takes Lynn Ramsey to have this much faith in... You know, like, there's not a lot riding on this. There's not a high budget. So I am literally going to film a person. We're going to watch a person watch things the entire time. I think that this movie's relationship with nudity, as Greg was saying earlier, I think that it's very important to have a female director to not get us into a blue is the warmest color situation.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
You know, I think that Samantha Morton spends a lot of this time nude because we're invading her house. This is not like, oh, I am a party girl. It's like we are in her most intimate situations. And when people are like that, they don't always wear bras. They don't always wear shirts, whether it's for comfort or for practical reasons because you're about to saw up a body, you know. Yeah. And the way that this movie is shot is not, you know.
It's not titillating at all.
It's not
There's
titillating.
no male gaze.
No, I mean, especially because over the course of the entire movie, I think you would begin to feel pretty bad about that because the message very much seems to be that like the culture is a bully culture that like forces this on women, and the movie works against that by having it be like never really exciting nudity. It's what feels much more organic, which is just somebody when they are the most exposed. And it's interesting that she and her friend like bathe together, because that closeness that you see there is kind of intense, especially when they are both actively lying to each other at the same moment. And so that mix of like utter intimacy and then sort of like deceit at the same time, I think kind of gets to the exact core of what the movie is about.
I mean, do you guys? I sort of pulled apart with this relationship, the core relationship of the movie, which is these two girls. Are they lying to each other? Like, we say that we're the most comfortable, but we're constantly lying to each other, or is the lying fine? That's how much we need each other. We're just gonna ignore the lies. You know, like once Lana tells Morvern that she fucked her dead boyfriend when he was alive.
Caveat.
Morvern gets over it pretty quick, and I don't think it's because Morvern's a sociopath. I think it's because Lana's the most important thing in her life, and like not forgiving her would be crazy.
Does she? I mean, I see that argument. I definitely see that reading, but she also starts to make the vacation hellish for Lana.
Yeah.
Not unknowingly. She knows what Lana's into.
Adds it onto this long list of stuff that she feels like she's escaping, but is actually stalking her everywhere she goes. She turns around and instantly is very upset, and then clearly is just like, you know what? I can just put this in the rearview mirror like I do everything else.
I think that she needs Lana there, whether it's for compatriotism or like to be the boss of, you know, like Lana's
That's the thing. Yeah.
Lana's so happy, but happy people are somehow drawn to these people who are totally not happy and be like, well, I guess then you're sort of the boss. You're the cooler one.
And it's almost like they like, in a weird way, they reproduce the relationship that we kind of think that Morvern had with her boyfriend, right? But she kind of becomes the author of that relationship, and she sets the terms, and she has the demands. And I think in a weird way, the betrayal helps seat that. You know, it helps her to be that way. It helps her to take that sort of command.
Like it was already happening, but then she was like, well, no need to wishy-washy about this.
Because what happens when Lana's like, fuck you, Morvern, you're a fucking bitch, at the end when they're stuck in the middle of nowhere, Morvern's like, all right, I'm out then. Like,
yeah,
this isn't giving me what I need anymore.
I quit. Now, we've seen so many indie directors get swallowed up by the gaping maw that is Hollywood, specifically these days, the MCU. Chloe Zhao used to be like a hot indie director and then made The Eternals. Could you see Lynn Ramsey doing anything interesting with a big budget movie?
Well, I read today in all my research that her next movie was supposed to be The Lovely Bones. Do you guys remember recently talking about The Lovely Bones?
PDJ's
Yeah.
Lovely Bones.
Eventually, Peter Jackson took that over, which is so strange. Lynn Ramsey dropped out. Should we call Peter Jackson?
It was pretty similar stylistically.
As I said last week, that is a movie that I hate. But a Lynn Ramsey one where she focuses on the thing that she wants to focus on, you know, then I think that could have been great. Not everybody wants or needs that MCU paycheck. Kelly Riker, I don't want to watch Kelly Riker. It's Fantastic Four.
Oh, man. Very slow Fantastic Four.
Just the Thing staring at the mirror for 20 minutes straight shot, like wondering who he is.
That would be kind of sweet, though.
That sounds great. What I'm saying is that I don't want to lose the Kelly Riker movie she didn't make because she made the Fantastic Four.
And I mean, honestly, like Eternals has probably cost us how many Chloe Zhao movies?
Right.
Like, it's not just the one. It's like her stock dropped because of that.
Which is such horse shit, even though I do not like that movie. Go make your own movies. You're still very good at things.
That paycheck must sound so nice, though. And it must feel like before you do it, like, oh, I could bring such like an authentic voice to that. I could do it my way and it would work. It must be just so tempting.
And then Feige is like, you actually don't direct most of this movie.
Yeah.
We have people who do that.
Like, we're going to tell you how this goes.
To me, sounds even better. If I got hired for a job and they were like, we're going to give you this huge check, you don't have to do that much. That's my dream job. I don't care what it is.
Sinecures are for me. I love that. Any job that you just want, like, where it's just somebody like just collects a paycheck, I'll do that. I'm not too honorable to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know, listeners, you were always wondering, like, how honorable is Greg? Now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know. And now we have run out of time to talk about Lynn Ramsey. We're going to take the quickest breaks, and when we come back, we're going to play a little game. Taste buds, for the last time in your season, 2002, we walk these hallowed halls of the Pop Filter Hall of Fame.
Do you want to do it next week?
Let's just fucking do it next
Yeah,
week.
might as well.
Like, what do we got
Just
going
do
on?
it next week.
Just do it next week. What do you guys want to do instead?
No, I meant as well, because you said this was the last time, and we should
Oh,
still
I
do
thought
the
you were
pod.
just-
But we
thought
have
you were
nothing else
punting.
prepared, Mike.
I know, so we're just going to, like, I don't know, what'd you have for breakfast?
Cranberries.
Cranberries.
7,000 cranberries.
Do you know with the
Just had
UTI?
a big handful of cranberries, okay? No, I don't want to go into it, Mike.
Okay.
Just so we know, cranberries is a fruit to be combined with other fruits. Like cran grape, that's fine. Cran apple, to just have cranberries that's insane.
Cran grape, I feel like, is such a lie. That is just grape.
Yeah, that's a gross
There's
ass
like
drink
no
for
cran
gross ass
in
people.
there.
Give me some crayon. Well, fuck it. I guess we will do the Pop Filter Hall of Fame. We each
Cranberries, Mike.
get-
We all
each-
love them. I think they should be in the Hall of Fame.
3 votes from me. It's in.
Cranberries is in the Pop Filter Hall of Fame, and that isn't even the real thing. But it
Why
is
doesn't
in
democracy work like that?
erroneous. I know. Why all
Just
this red
change
tape?
it. Just fix it. Cranberries aren't in the Hall of Fame. Now they are.
Our in-house sculptor is already adding the cranberry bust to the Pop Filter Hall of Fame.
The
There you
noble
go.
Cranberry.
And we don't mean the band.
No.
I mean the tangy tart fruit that
The
cures your bladder infections. All right. I don't know if anybody else can top cranberries, but Greg, let's see if they can.
Video games are very important to me, and maybe they're important to all of us. And we don't have a ton of video game representation in the Pop Filter Hall of Fame, but there is one franchise that was my favorite franchise when I first started playing video games and is still my favorite franchise now and has released probably 10 to 15 amazing video games, and it is the Zelda franchise. Basically reinventing video games in the 1980s and then doing it again in the 90s, doing it again in the 2000s, 2010s, and now this year with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And the way in which it's new and fresh is still very much true to like the original Zelda framework all the way back in the Nintendo age. The idea that you could go anywhere from the beginning and kind of approach the game in an order that you wanted to was way more revolutionary when they did it back in the 1980s with the first Zelda. And even the entries to the series that have not fared well, like Zelda 2 when I was a kid was universally considered like an awful sequel. Now, if you go back and look at it, it's brave. It was like futuristic. It was just not of its time, really. It was way ahead of its time, and it suffered for that.
What made it so ahead of its time? I'm not familiar with the Zelda 2's reputation.
Zelda 2 changed, like, we get sequels now, and when the sequels come out, they're basically the first game a little bit more. Zelda 2 completely changed everything about
It was a
how you
goddamn
played.
side-scroller.
It was side-scrolling. It was way more of an RPG. It was harder. And for all those reasons, it's actually very, very good. But people wanted, like, Zelda 1.5. They didn't want something completely new. And Nintendo was learning that lesson, over the years. But the way in which it has sort of been the benchmark of every system that it has been released on, and the way it has kind of led the conversation about video games all throughout the years, I think it's just a good entry for our Hall of Fame.
So if Zelda makes it in, who represents it? The little green elfin character of Zelda?
The guy Zelda, I think, should be the entrant.
If he's a boy, isn't that Zelda?
Zelda. But lately it's pretty clear that Link is comfortable dressing in a lot of different ways. The Switch games, he has so much clothing that is gender neutral or even feminine that he looks really good in, and so you're able to define you're able to define the gender of Link as you see fit.
Good for Link. Ryan,
He's a cutie, dude. He's a good-looking little cartoon guy.
who do you got that can tower above Cranberries and Zelda the Link?
Well, I mean, Cranberries just in, right? That's
Yeah, Cranberries are in.
It's got 3 votes, right?
and not the band. I just want to be
Not
clear.
the band.
The tangy little fruit.
The tangible fruit you stomp on with your feet.
There are multiple occasions of a show being just put into the Hall of Fame. The Simpsons, which is probably more for, as Greg was saying, the video games, classic video games like Bart versus the Space Mutants.
Or Simpsons Hit and Run.
And Simpsons Hit and Run, fucking phenomenal game that I have logged a crazy amount of hours playing. Arrested Development, sometimes a show is just too important. Over the last 5, 6, 7 years, basically since we started doing the best of the years, there's been a show that I think has towered over almost all other shows. I think that most people in this room agree. Unfortunately, fortunately for the audience, but unfortunately for us, there's this evil cabal that we invite to do best of the year every year that basically hates art and taste.
Our show kind of made the same mistake America made, which is we let women start to vote.
That's what I was about to say, obviously.
I think I'm summarizing your point, right, Ryan?
Yeah, and Mike can't just help, but it's just his hand is just giving you a point right now for your incredible statement. Instead of losing sleep nightly about Better Call Saul never winning best show of the year, any of the years that it was out, let's take it a step further and just anoint it into the Pop Filter Hall of Fame. And then who cares about best show of the year? You got a fucking bust, bro. You're up there next to a pile of cranberries.
You're stacked.
Man, if it didn't seem so hack to just immediately put it in right on the heels of having done that with cranberries,
Yeah,
that's probably what we would do, but we're just not that hack quite yet.
Can't break democracy twice in one night. Do you hear me, Trump?
Well, I mean, the show came after Cran's Ton, and then here a ton of crayons. So I guess,
Of course.
Points for broken brains. This creative person, when they are in front of the camera, can do so much with so little. Riveting, makes every role their own, whether they're guesting on a sitcom or starring in indie darling films. And when they're behind the camera, they don't have a lot of this, but god damn it, are they a tour de force and only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, especially when what I'm calling my Oppenheimer comes out, Barbie. I'm nominating Greta G. Gerwig for the Pop Filter Hall of Fame. I think she is unstoppable and so very talented.
Did we tell the listeners that the winner of the O2 Movie of the Year is the latest trailer from Barbie? Like, it's all done. There's no need to do the finale.
We've done it. Do you guys ever think about dying? I've thought about that. I only watched it this morning. I've thought about that 13 times.
I've never seen a movie show what Mike is like at a party better than that moment.
A giant, dazzling smile and just record scratch. Ask if everybody's thought about dying.
Don't you hate Frances Ha, Mike?
But she's good in it.
Oh.
She didn't direct it. It would have been good if she had. I think her dumb bro Bombach did.
Yes, your point has been made multiple times. Thank you.
Did you guys imagine that you could be more excited about the Barbie movie than you were when that trailer came out? And it actually, like, I'm so much more stoked than I was before, and I didn't think it was possible.
I can't believe
new tidbit makes me more excited.
But also, hey, studio, whoever it is, stop now. We're all pumped. I want to see no more seconds. If they release more seconds, I will have to watch more seconds. So please just stop.
Do you know what I really like is Will Ferrell's latter-day career where he is just playing people who hate that toys are coming alive.
Yeah.
That's keep doing it, bro.
It's so
He
strange.
drives a Dodge Stratus, and he hates that toys come alive.
I have thought I feel like I've said this every year. Every time they like go to say, how are we supposed to do this property? Brady Bunch movie. Like Brady Bunch movie
Yes.
should have become Groundhog Day in that it's like a genre to its own, and we should get a Brady Bunch movie every 3 years.
Yes. I saw somebody being like, how can you even do anything with Barbie? What is there? And it was probably a dude, but also like, I don't know. Look at the last 30 Marvel movies. Shit that was a property does pretty well, idiot critic.
Also, look at the last 2 middle fingers I'm holding up at you right fucking now. Guys, I watching this last trailer, and just knowing who directed it, Mike's nominee, I think that as much as we're going to laugh, we're going to cry. We're going to fucking cry at this Barbie movie.
We got Lady Bird, My Little Women, and now Barbie. And she is only what's good in baseball? Batting 1,000? Does that mean you hit every hit?
Oh,
That means you're perfect.
That would be pretty good. Dude.
She's batting 1,000. She does not miss.
Yes, that's we're talking about another director like that tonight, but it's hard to find because usually you'll just accidentally make Popeye or something.
That could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
One thing leads to another. Next thing you know, Robin Williams is there yucking it up.
Is that Richard Donner?
No, that's Altman.
Linklater. Altman. Fuck. Well, all the R's. I confuse the R's.
But when you got a huge property like Popeye, don't you take the flyer on that?
Everyone's clamoring.
The guy's in the papers every day, Ryan.
Where's our Funky Winker Bean movie?
Well, we are all clearly avoiding voting because it's gonna hurt, as voting always should. Let's dive in. Ryan, the Ledger of Zelgen, the franchise.
Zildjian, the symbol company.
They're pretty important to me, actually.
Unfortunately, this is just literally not a thing for me. It sucks that it has to be unanimous because I know that it's so huge for you, but I just have no connection to Zelda whatsoever.
Greg?
I'm going to be a butt about this, and I'm going to not vote for my own pick because I think that sometimes you do look at the rest of the class and you just recalibrate. But it's not gonna get in anyway. Ryan's not gonna vote, or he already didn't vote for it. So I'm not gonna split the votes. I don't want to. So I'm not voting for my own thing.
If we want to talk about Zelda Rubinstein from Poltergeist.
Ryan, you know that's not who I'm talking about.
She's in with the Cranberries.
I'm talking about Zelda, the adventurer who saves a princess.
We said last segment that Greg is so honorable, and look at him prove it right away.
Wait, did we say how
when he was like, I don't know, I didn't listen to you guys.
Yeah.
When he was like, I'm going to be a butt, I thought he was going to be a butt in the way Ryan and I are often a butt.
And yeah,
So,
forced
like,
voting
I will,
just for like no reason
I will
whatsoever.
slam this to the ground so more people are upset.
Maybe it would be more honorable though to stick with it. I don't often do it where I like read the topography, but those were it's in a really strong class.
It's a strong class.
But plus,
if you don't got the votes, you don't got the votes. That's what the song is about.
That's the thing. If you had gone to Greg first, maybe he would have voted for it. But already knowing that it wasn't going in,
Yeah.
and there's two things that you like, why throw your vote away?
I'm just thinking about why you would do it. Why would you fucking do
Oh,
it?
you're thinking about it live on air as the host.
Yeah.
You're silently thinking about it. Cool.
I'm
Well,
sorry
and I'll
that
tell
I
you,
thought we had a contemplative, reflective show.
I was then going to have to choose between the other two.
Yes.
And I didn't feel like doing that.
Sophie's
so
choice.
That was also a big part of it.
Breath of the Wild is what helped adult me get back into video games. So it was harder than I thought, but I would also say no. Not that it matters. Though that'd be hilarious after you two made posters. Oh, man. Next up is, hey, you better call Saul, Greg.
Yeah. It's the perfect solution to something we whine about incessantly.
Will this stop the whining? It won't.
Which is
but
that we ask some of our friends with different tastes to be on our show to balance out and then get so violently angry when they don't like everything that we like. But this show is very important to us and would have been probably the TV show of the year every
5
year
years
it was
in a
on.
row. Yeah.
So it feels good to get it in the hall.
Ryan.
I, by the way, before I vote, I took a little straw poll at a party that I was at the other day, and it seems like that the girls, the other three that make up the six of us, don't hate Barry or Succession. like they do Better Call Saul. So we thought it was like dark shows with adult themes.
Yeah.
It was very specifically Better Call Saul, but yes, it's absolutely in.
And also, I think it's getting tired of our shit.
Yeah, it might be
the
more
first
about
couple
us
years
than about
worked
the show.
themselves out, but now it's just like, okay, shut the fuck up, and we don't.
Better Call Saul is in the Pop Filter Hall of Fame, and a life-size bust will be sent to the home addresses of each one of those women.
Because we will never shut the fuck up. We'll never do it.
And finally, the Gigi Allen of our generation, Greta G. Gerwig. Ryan?
Honestly, like, did anybody Tina Fey this? Greg, did you check the bus? Like,
I checked,
you did?
but I also checked Tina Fey once.
No, the three of us. Like, I distinctly remember you two seeing Little Women on like as soon as fucking possible.
Yes.
And,
Holding hands and skipping.
and I think I saw it like 2 days later and still felt so left out because of the amount of like tears you shared and stories you told. Me being such a Bomba guy, like I was already in because of her incredible performances, but now a titan of filmmaking as well. I cannot believe she's already in. Of course, Greta Gerwig. Gigi Allen, as we call her, I guess.
Greg?
You know, it would be funny. No, yeah, this is a big part of the reason why I did not vote for Zelda, so that I could save my vote for her. Yeah, we're just so enthusiastic about her, and that's really what the Hall of Fame is for us, and that's why Zelda didn't make it, because I have that, Mike has that to some degree, and Ryan, you just don't. But we genuinely, all three of us, we've been getting rowdy about the Barbie movie now for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And it would just be so disingenuous not to put her in the Hall of Fame.
And honestly, like, it's so interesting that we're talking about Lynn Ramsey and Kelly Reichardt has come up tonight too.
Mm-hmm.
Just these directors who like, how do you recommend? You know, like what exactly do you say before
right.
you recommend? And for her, you say nothing. You just like, no, she makes the best movies, but also 4 quadrant films at the same time, which is just very rare.
Seemingly, I know there's a lot of effort, but it feels effortless. Like it is so artistic how she threads that needle.
Attention to the micro and the macro, right? Like, you know, there's no throwaway lines, and there's all the requisite big scenes.
Mikey likes.
Because his vote got in. Your class of Morvern Callar Pop Filter Hall of Fame is Better Call Saul and Greta Gerwig.
And cranberries.
And of course,
last we not
cranberries.
forgot, cranberries.
Thanks, folks.
I don't know why they're laughing. We mean it. They're fucking in, man. They are in. The bust has been built. We're going to take the quickest breaks, and when we come back, wrap up our Morvern Callar conversation.
Well, that is very, very funny. Or very sad, and perhaps now you have something to think about. Or very problematic, and perhaps we have something to think about. But in any event, I'm sure you have some reaction to what you're listening to. So why not check us out on the social media? You can go to Instagram or Twitter and find us at YourPopFilter. Email contacts@YourPopFilter. Hey, everybody. Keep watching them movies.
Taste buds. Is Morvern Callar more than just a biopic of a fictional person, not unlike Tar? What can a story about a female grocery store clerk tell us things about class and gender and truth?
And truth. I think we've hit a lot on this and this is why I love this movie. One of the reasons I love this movie is when we were forced to put together the pieces of what we think her and her dead boyfriend's relationship was.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is just doing it, right? Like, I think that there's no like evil man that I can think of in this movie. Mustache twirling, let's say, but
nobody's tying anybody to train tracks.
You just feel that, you know, she's constantly put in a position of being objectified, and she's constantly put in a position of I'll make your choices for you, and it's just we have to do that, trying to figure out her past.
Yeah, and I think there's a way that she interacts with the world that is like the movie's almost prescient about, you know, that the distance between her and the things going on immediately around her. Like they go to a party the night her boyfriend takes his life, and there's like some sort of sex scene, and it's so unclear exactly what happens in that sex scene. And I think that like that distance is a distance that she experiences too. That like she's not even totally sure. She's not totally sure what drugs she's taking, and she's not totally sure where she's going. And that lost sort of aimlessness, just I think is very prescient about like what's happening as we become more and more alienated from the world, as there's less of the world left to average people, as it's all being like snatched up basically. We're left with only the reality of how awful it's become, or some sort of attempt to escape that reality. And then it doesn't work because that dogs us everywhere we go, and we just run faster and faster and try to stay one step ahead of that realization, but we can't.
Yeah, because I mean, Morvern Callar's always being chased by Morvern Callar, right? Like the thoughts in her head and like her constant
Once you like
thinking.
grab that cab and they go into the sepia tone world, and they drive up into the mountains with like the Basque people or whatever, like she is clearly like, okay, my thoughts found me here. We got to get to the next place. And then it's like just walking down a dirt road. Like
she lives her life as if she's Bourne. Jason Bourne. Like the bad guys are catching me, but the bad guys are all her fucking thoughts. And it's like watching the cycle of Lana is aimless. And that's sort of like her choice or her DNA, or like that's just how she's wired. She just sort of like loves this life. Morvern is so scared of that, or doesn't want to be that, wants more than that, which then leaves her aimless, And then you just watch the two of them do this dance, but ultimately one is happy, one is sad.
I mean, think of how quickly Lana confesses, really. Like, in the course of the movie, Lana is, like, dogged by what she's done, but it's, like, 3 scenes where you can see it, like, it preoccupies her, like, he left me. Oh, what, did he say anything about me?
Right.
Or, like, let's go look on his computer to see if there's anything about me on that.
We were pals.
But, yeah, we were pals. But she does confess rather than just always trying to escape from it. And that does seem to leave her in a better place.
Which is crazy to someone like Morvern. Like, I'll fucking steal a book and I'll sell it, and you have to, we're in this intimate bed moment and you have to confess? Like, these are two very
Keep
close.
your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah. These are two very close but directly opposite people.
And because how often is it like your duty is to lie to the people
Please that booty.
you love the most? That, to protect people, we sometimes feel like what we have to do is lie to them. And but really that like eats us up and keeps us from having a genuine existence. And so we need the music to be louder and louder.
I don't think Morvern is lying to protect Lana. Morvern's lying to protect, like, everything is real if Morvern says any of it out loud.
Yeah.
So she just keeps that shit on lock.
And it's funny how she gets close to, like, there's a couple times where she begins to say it, and even as she's saying it, she's like starts to lie about it and change the truth. She just absolutely cannot get herself to actually form the real words.
I mean, is this an admirable, or is this like a true friendship of women on film? Like, is this something that
I think it is a true friendship for these women on film. I don't think it's admirable at all, and I don't think you could say this is how all women are friends. But this feels real and lived in.
Yeah, and I would say they enjoy like an admirable intimacy with each other. There's also the lies. I mean, I think what the point is that relationships are exceptionally complex landscapes, and that you're not going to have a clean or purely anything relationship. But they're being with each other and clinging to each other like really does seem like to be a genuine comfort to them.
Genuine is probably the word that I'm looking for, because we always talk about how boys have all of these movies, whether it's Lethal Weapon or Superbad, and girls have fewer. And when a lot of the movies are like the women are cutting each other or trying to climb over each other, or that's typically what they get. There is a lot of genuineness in this relationship, even though both characters and the relationship itself are complicated.
Yeah, and that's what makes it like real and a compelling movie, is that how flawed They are, and I think something, I don't know if we've really touched on it, because of their age, their early 20s, this makes sense, is I could see flash forward 10 years that Lana also is no longer into this party life. Morvern, for various reasons, is just getting over it quicker and wants something more. And that pushes you away, which is really hard. Arguably harder than her boyfriend killing himself is this closest relationship is dissolving because Morvern doesn't want this life anymore.
But like I don't know if she's maturing. I think that she's sort of in her head and thinks that it should be a Drew Barrymore movie, not a Samantha Morton movie. You know, like I think that she, in a lot of ways, Lana's more mature because she's accepted the world around her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's a big part of maturing sometimes, though, is you think you are when you're clearly not, and taking that next leap, even though she's doing it in lies and deceit and just doesn't want this anymore.
Does Morvern leave this movie off to go build a life, or is she going to burn through this 100,000 pounds?
Oh my God, it's so gone.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone.
So then
like,
she doesn't really like enjoy any sort of like true, like she's not really leaving the life behind, right? Because she takes the money and she goes right back to the rave in Spain, right? Like, I mean, that's where we leave her. So she hasn't really left the life behind. She's like gone right back to it.
Were you guys surprised that rave in Spain was mainly on the plane?
Ew.
There's one scene that I want to talk about since we're on these two, and it's as complicated as their relationship is. I do think that Lana is the only person that can make Morvern happy or find her in happy times, and I love the baking scene for a couple of reasons. One, we watch a lot of the baking scene through that doorway that the dead body was in, right? Like a lot of it, we see through the kitchen is blocked off, so we can just like Ramsey focuses right on what she wants us to focus on. They're covered in powder, like they're doing a classic like, oh, we're painting the room. Now I'm gonna paint your nose a little bit. But then at the end, her hands start shaking, and that hand shaking is just like, hey, Morvern, no matter what, your Morvernness is going to pop up at some point, no matter how much fun you're actually having. Like you can be with Lana and have a blast and like, you know, like, oh, we're making cookies and whatever, but it's going to pop up.
Yeah, she has some sort of condition because earlier in the movie, she's talking in a bar about how she couldn't get her leg to stop shaking. So she's like developing some sort of tremor.
I assumed it was a telltale heart kind of tremor of I cannot stop shaking because
I think it's
of all
thoughts.
The things I'm doing.
So many thoughts are rushing through me.
I guess I took it to be the damage from partying, you know, because like if you do a lot of party drugs like over a long time, it starts like punching out big parts of your brain.
I don't think that's this movie though. I don't think it's a warning about this stuff, you know? I don't think it's a warning. I think it is part of the repercussions of what she's been doing. It's part of what she turns away from. Part of the world that she turns her back on is the world where her body is actually, even though she's so young, starting to break down. You know, like that's the reality that she can't bear. Either way, it's a constant state of never finding happiness, but only finding things that never make me happy. And it's like, if that's the case, if that's just the cycle, then I don't. At a certain point, it doesn't feel like failed attempts of just like picking the wrong things that make you happy, but instead nothing will. Like you're just chasing you're going down the wrong path here.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, at the root of all this is that desire and want is the root of unhappiness, you know, and that there will always be something to want, something to need to escape from, and if you can't like reckon with that, you'll always be imprisoned by it.
And I mean, just based on what you just said, Greg, and the fact that we can watch this person carefully open up their Christmas presents with a dead body next to them, you know, like this all connects in like this sort of thing of like, well, it's presents that I want, you know, it's the material things. But like the boyfriend was never part of it. And it like, I know that it sounds crazy. I know it sounds like American Psycho, but really it's just literalizing of the fact that like that wasn't making me happy. So why would the current situation make me sad?
Right. Damn. Let's talk about, is there anything, I mean, we can see the class struggles. They can't get a way out because they're in this small town. They're grocery clerks. But is the movie saying anything about class? I feel like it's hits much more truth versus lies and friendship and relationships and gender.
I would say that Morvern was with the guy because it was a way out, maybe more so than being in love.
I think it class completely delineates your existence. So like what they know, what they can hope to achieve, what they can dream of, where they go on vacation, like what they think of as a lot of money.
I mean, when Lana is told that Morvern's taking her to that resort, she is emotional. Like she has a breakdown.
Yeah, and it's like a little shitty party resort for like completely like drunken, out of control teenagers, basically. But their like view of what is possible in the world is just completely constrained because they just when those book agents say 100,000 pounds to her, she like almost gets sick at the table.
Yeah,
that was that. Like I have to use the bathroom. Will you?
Yeah, it's
me?
funny because the whole movie you're trying to figure out like, is she extremely stupid or like what is her intelligence level? But when she does that is a pretty clever, crafty move because she's like, okay, I'm obviously going to give it up if I don't get up and walk away.
She's like the like after you drop the girl off at the date on the first date, and then you do the little dance outside of her house. I should go do this dance closer to the bathroom, away from these people.
She asks if she can go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's the other
She's
thing.
like, may I be excused to go to the restroom?
That's also so like childish. And what happens is, going back to the drugs and alcohol, is that the agents or the book representatives, whoever the publishers, get so shit-faced that they start to not notice. Like, she's just on their level when she's sober. So they're like, oh, this is charming.
Also, I have to say, I think that there are some writers who, if you encounter the person, they are just like completely at a loss.
Yeah.
And you could never imagine that this could be the person who could write like that.
I mean, we talked about how all those movies that this movie is like, but like adaptation, you know, I think that like these two movies fold in nicely together.
Speed round.
Which 2002 Samantha Morton would you rather hang out with, Morvern Callar or Morvern Precogger?
Morvern Callar. I think that her and I would get along famously.
Yeah, it's got to be Morvern Callar because I don't want you to tell me what's going to happen in the future, but I don't mind if we both sit here and just totally ignore the past.
Oh my God, Elliott Smith over here writing songs.
The movie's tagline is not a young girl's strange erotic journey from Glasgow to Spain. Why not?
Fucking, I love these questions of yours, Mike. Why isn't this the real thing? I don't fucking know, dude.
I think it's because the adventure is not super erotic. It might be sexual, but I don't know if it's erotic.
Also, Milan to Minsk. That's got to feel.
Dude.
That's got to flow.
Rochelle.
Those two things that you just said, Scotland to Spain. No, that's got to flow.
Yeah.
All right, I'm wrong.
Scotland to Spain does. Glasgow to Spain doesn't, or Glasgow to Madrid doesn't. Did watching this movie ever make you want to party like this again, or are we exclusively glad those days are dead, never to return?
This movie, man, most movies, like if I ever catch a glimpse of MTV Spring Break or whatever from when I was a kid, which I desperately wanted to be at so bad.
Yes. Oh my God.
I get hives. Like that seems terrible. This movie was like that. I know. Get the fuck out of my house. Stop putting your cigarette butts into my glasses that I drink out of. Like, what are we doing here?
Ugh.
I'm so glad to never have to party like this ever again. But I always, as a young man, it was always my dream to be at a party where a chick would just like whip her shirt off. And that happened several times in this. So I do have to say.
Not even hook up with her just to see her take her shirt off?
Yes, dude.
But and then here's where reality, and I guess we've lived different lives than Morvern Callar did. I feel like if that happened, it would be you'd grab your friend and be like, "Hey, are you okay? We got to cover up. Like, what is going on with you? Like, you're
having a nervous breakdown." Yeah, because that's the thing that that's what the movie is about. A whole society of kids who are like having nervous breakdowns, like acting so wild, and looking for just some reality to come and impose itself.
It's like America was on this giant Rumspringer, and now these kids are wanting it back to normal. I would go up to the girl that was freaking out and be like, "Hey, are you okay? Because I have hives, so I'm not okay. Can we talk about me?"
It's very clear that Charlotte Wells, director of After Sun, has seen Morvern Callar. Do you remember? Okay, I should say that sometimes we take listener questions. Do you remember when Mike kicked the best movie of the year off on the bracket last year?
Did you ever explain that, by the way?
Yes, you were. I've on air, off air.
But in this,
You
no, did you
refused to
explain it
accept
this
it.
episode?
No, we haven't talked about After Sun this episode.
Right. So why don't you explain it again?
Explain to listeners what you did.
I knew nothing about After Sun,
You knew one thing. It was what I declared to be the best movie of the year.
and I put Turning Red up against it in a fight, and Democracy won.
Holy Christ. I can't argue with that.
What does Morvern want out of life?
Yeah, I think she wants to move on, and she thinks that she can do that without reconciling with where she's been. And I think that is the illusion of the 90s and early 2000s that we wanted, was that we could just start the new life without fully reckoning with our past. And it just makes you crazier and crazier.
I think, too, that, like, I don't know if we told the listeners, but Greg read the book. I think she wants to be in a different book. Like, why am I in this book? Why am I in this movie? You know, like we were talking about before, why am I not in the Drew Barrymore movie? Like, and that's what I think Ramsey is so keen on. Like, what she's cluing in, like, you guys want to watch a different movie. I know that, but you're going to watch this one. You want to watch the one that Morvern thinks she is a part of or wants to be a part of.
She's not from Southern California. She's from a Scottish port town.
That
And
sucks,
so
man.
It's just, there's not the glamour there that she's
When it
vying for.
when it comes down to it, be from Southern California is my advice.
Yes, it worked out for all of us. Near the beginning of the movie, Morvern sits at a train station. The phone rings. She answers it. Is the person on the other line the Morvern Callar we've heard so much about?
Yes.
At what point did you realize the title was her name?
I feel like pretty early on they give that up.
There's a guy halfway through the movie who like doesn't understand her name, and
Yes.
all I know is like this is a common Scottish name, Scottish first name, Scottish last name. I don't fucking know. And he's like, Morvern Callar? Your name is Morvern? Yes. Callar? Yes. Morvern Callar? Yes.
They're so rude at this like resort that they go to. I guess because they have to deal with party kids all the time, and the only way you
Yeah.
can do that is just be rude to them. But like they don't do anything to make these people feel comfortable or happy.
As they should. Party kids suck.
I mean, this is a resort where like you got there and you probably spent a lot of money getting there. That's cool, but it's like $19 a night to stay there, and like we're gonna treat you like shit. We're gonna come in,
They're gonna
bust
make
But-
you fucking take your top off and show
But
your tits
you're
to
allowed to
everybody.
puke and do whatever you want and
You
run
throw
amok.
shit off the balcony.
We're gonna bust in your room at 3 a.m. and just cover you with fire extinguisher. Like we'll just do that.
Ooh, what a monster. Could Morvern have done, I don't know, an ounce of research into the publishing industry?
No, because that would have involved like thinking about why she was doing it. And
That's
thinking
it's
about,
so out of character. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And finally, it seems trite at this point to ask if something is a Christmas movie. But in this case, we gotta ask, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Good one. I will say that to put is this a Greg? Is this book a Christmas book?
You know, he does it on Christmas, yeah, and she opens up the Christmas present.
Like they're so clearly fucking with us. Like that they know that's gonna hurt so much.
At no
Christmas
point
is lonely.
At no point is she like, Santa must have done this, right? Santa must have come early this year.
Are we even gonna get anything?
Mike, do you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie?
Yes,
I do too.
but I don't make my. You know what? Thanks. And I think Home Alone is a Die Hard movie.
Die Hard 4, Home Alone 1. Which is a shitty score. That's a baseball team score.
Well, it's an adult man playing racquetball against a little kid. Come on. We have to take the quickest breaks, and when we come back, it's award season. Taste buds, can you believe that Morvern Callar was nominated for a lot of awards, but no Academy Awards?
Was it like the Scottish Academy Awards?
BAFTAs.
Like the BAFTAs. The goddamn BAFTAs.
BAFTAs.
Go take a BAFTA. You're smelly. That's what I say.
Hop
It
in there
is.
together. Why not?
So we're going to give it a bunch of awards tonight, starting with most upsetting nudity. Greg.
Yes. So you hear that there's a lot of nudity in a movie, and you're like, "Oh, goody, this is gonna be fun."
Ha
And
cha
then
cha
he's
cha
like,
cha.
Yeah. All right, here we go. And this movie teaches you almost right away, like, no. But you think you've seen the worst of it. When they get to this resort, part of what they do is they make like a couple go into this changing bag and then swap bathing suits. And when they come out, even the guy looks like humiliated, and he's just wearing like a girl's bathing suit. But the girl, who is now topless, looks like she doesn't want to be any part of this at all, kind of just staring off into space. And it's just a real upsetting vibe.
This is the previously mentioned googly-eyed girl.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
the bathroom girl. Later, we will see her, and she's even worse off. But at this point, she already seems like traumatized by the experience of coming to this party resort.
The number one draft pick
Nice.
of College Fuck Fest is this girl.
That is a good nominee. Ryan, what do you got?
I had to go with sawing up the bathtub. She drags the corpse into the bathtub and puts on her underwear, her lack of shirt, and tapes on the Walkman. And it's just not a fun time.
And some mirror shades.
Oh, and the aviators, of course.
Yeah.
That's how you know it maybe is at least a little bit of a fun time.
And those glasses look good. Like they're big and
Yeah.
they're sort of reddish bronze. I like the glasses. If we were doing a shopping spree, that fucking taped on Walkman would be my number one pick.
Yes. For the imaginary shopping spree, you get that point. But that scene made me, and that's why this is different than cringiest moment. Is it's supposed to do it, and it worked.
And we have to remember this is from the Maxim era too, so like it's got like it's got that culture in its crosshairs, you know.
Mm-hmm. Best dude, Ryan.
Thanks,
Is who I would nominate.
thanks, buddy. Best. This one was hard because they have this tinge. Again, it's not painted with a broad brush, but there's this tinge of they're all fucking awful.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept thinking about these two guys who were like, I knew you're German. I knew a guy in Germany. And he's clearly trying to think of a name so he can ask, did you know this person? But then all of a sudden, the two girls run off with all of their booze, and they're like, vacation. Just let it happen.
Slappers, which is great European or British slang. Slappers.
You slappers. Greg, best dude.
Best dude. For a while I was like, is it this dead dude? Because at least he contributed something. But I'm gonna go with crying guy. She can't sleep in her room, and she's kind of like left Lana, and she just hears this guy absolutely sobbing, and she tracks him down, and his mom has died. And she's like, to comfort you, do you want to hear about my foster mom's funeral? And then they start making out, and she screams and cries for a little bit. But then he seems to like take a respectful distance for a while, and then finally they have sex. And then he has to like head on out to go to his mom's funeral. But all in all, I felt like that was the most like kind of nice relationship between a man and a woman in the movie.
But didn't he ghost her? She keeps calling back for him, and he never answers.
I guess. I don't know.
It
He's
is.
just some guy.
It did make me think, how come this never happens to me? And then I looked at him, and I was like, oh, I don't look like skinny Brandon Routh. So that's probably why.
Between those two, I gotta go crying boy. Tom the agent, I know sucks, but so does his colleague. So it's just their job that they suck. He would have been mine. Cringiest moment, Greg.
I'm going to go with the one that actually caused me to cringe, which is when swimsuit girl becomes bathroom girl. Morvern Callar is like
names.
just watching this absolutely like comatose girl who seems so out of her mind on drugs and just like in so much danger because no guy in a 6-mile radius is trustworthy at all because society doesn't demand that of them. And just how creepy it is to watch her like face pressed up against this dirty bathroom wall and her eyes rolling in her head. And as Ryan pointed out earlier, you think Morvern's going to be like, I will save you because I'm the protagonist of this movie, even though it's not that type of movie. And she doesn't because nobody does. And that poor girl, that's the last we ever see of her. And so in a way, it's like we never get any resolution one way or another about how she turns out.
Did those eyes ever
sure
settle
she's fine.
into the right place? We'll never know.
They're still Googling today.
I don't think so. They Google to this day.
I'm going to Google the Googling, see if it's still going on.
Who Googles the
And we
Googling?
called it the Googling.
Ryan, what is your cringiest moment?
Look, I think that this person is basically only capable of masterpieces or near masterpieces. I think that she is 4 for 4. But there's this thing that she keeps doing that I think is so... It's happened in multiple versions of, or multiple of her movies, but still, I'm going to call it out here. Samantha Morton is sad. Morvern Callar is sad, and so she's looking out of a window while it's raining, and it's shot in such a way where the raindrops are her tears, and that needs to stop, folks.
It looks like she's crying, Ryan.
Oh, see, okay, never mind then. I didn't put that together. That's not cringy at all. That's film. That's film, baby.
And
Yeah,
yet
that
she
does stick
can't
out.
cry, Ryan. She's separated from her emotions by a thick pain of indifference.
Oh, the pain is everywhere.
The pain. Pound for pound performance, Ryan.
I had
Be
this.
brave, Ryan. Say something iconoclastic. Do it, man. That's how you get points.
I was gonna say Lana because she's so Scottish, and in this movie where she's Scottish, she says the word donkey, and just like Shrek would, she screams. She's whispering, and then she says donkey, and it proves Shrek true. But no, this is. I texted you guys this week. Could Samantha Morton win Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress? Moody's for the end of this year, and I do think that's capable.
And then
I heard
spent
that neither of us
4
responded.
days being like, what other movie was she in? And then when I realized it was Minority Report, I got so excited, but it was too late to like respond to what you had
Oh yeah, no, don't text me back. That's not haunting me.
It
all
took
night
a long
long.
time to figure out what the hell you were talking about.
Neither of us responded, and I assume Ryan just thought we were texting each other about what a fucking dingus he is.
Okay.
But to
definitely,
answer your question, yes.
I definitely thought that you guys were texting each other about what a moron I was. Turns out you guys were just sitting there stupid as fuck. So
No, I got it.
I did not
Just
until I
choose
was
not to
making the
respond.
website for our last episode, and when I uploaded the picture, I saw the picture I had used for the Minority Report webpage, and it was her face, and I was like, oh, that's what he was talking about.
this is. I don't have the list of movies in front of me. Like there might be better Best Actress candidates, but like I said early on in the show, don't make this movie without her. Like cancel if she doesn't sign on, then don't make the movie. Her face is a work of art. It's a canvas in and of itself.
Dude, it's a bummer. I learned one of the last things she did. She was the villain Alpha in late Walking Dead
yeah.
seasons.
Oh, yeah, I remember that now.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't know it then, but I can see it. She had with the shaved head.
Yep.
She's into that. She was like, I don't need a script, shaved head, I'm in.
Oh, head's already shaved, bro.
I'm ready.
I'm ready to go.
Greg, what is your pound for pound performance?
Man, I want to say something cool, but perhaps the truth is the coolest thing you can say, and maybe that's what the movie is really about. It has to be Samantha Morton. I feel like to watch her performance in this movie is to like know what acting really is supposed to be, and how often we don't actually get to see it in movies. How many of our stars of acting have never one time ever delivered a performance anything in the ballpark of this. Like the way she becomes a character is just, it must be upsetting to her. Like, I mean, honestly, it must be like a very mentally trying thing, but she's so impressive, and she's clearly the best actress of this season. I mean, there's nobody who did a better job. There's no way she's not going to win Best Actress, and I think Ryan might be right in that she might win Best Supporting Actress as well.
This is neither of these movies are her best performance of 2002. Jim Sheridan made a movie called In America in 2002 about a family who immigrates to America and tries to figure it out. And in that movie, that's one of the best performances I've ever seen. So,
Man, 02 was her year.
Yeah, that's quite the 1-2-3 punch.
Yeah, I guess. You both get points. It's Samantha Morgan. Woo. Finally, director's signature moment, Greg.
All right. The image of so many images from this movie would really stick out, but the one that really sticks out for me is of just her face when she's like looking at the computer screen, and in the background there's the Christmas tree, and so like that shot, and along with the accompanying like the silence that after it gets so quiet it starts getting loud again, and you start noticing all the different sounds there are in a house. My house is like extremely loud. The more quiet it is, the louder it gets. And that like really shallow focus of just her face, and then all the lights sort of blending into this like collage of lights that would kind of be echoed at several other points in the movie. But that's the one that really that's the shot that I think is really the signature moment from the movie.
It is a good one. Ryan, rebuttal.
How about agreement? I'm going to. I guess the rebuttal would just be, or the addition would be, just the red. Like I think that like there's the sound of electricity throughout the entire movie. Is like there's a neon light on behind you while you're watching the movie the entire time, and that is so much the case too in the Joaquin Phoenix movie. When you talk about Kevin, it's just red. It's mostly red paint instead of red light. But I specifically think that in this movie and in her other movies, it's red light, because that red light is a color and a sound and a feel of warmth, And it's, I don't want to say anything as basic as like red means hate or red means love, or go towards the red because that red means hell. It's nothing like that. But there is still this like constant red light. Her face.
Well, the light is not a comforting light, right? So
exactly.
it's like a representation of her thoughts that are always there.
Please,
right? Like red light.
If I'm Morvern, like please give me the sleep goggles to put on. Mm-hmm. So the Christmas lights, the rave lights, the whatever. Like I just want to go to fucking sleep, but instead this is keeping me up and it's keeping me thinking.
I feel like you both made great arguments. Those are the awards. Finally, we have recommendations. Ryan, if you liked Morvern Callar, what else should you watch?
Earlier in the show, Greg was talking about how in the bracket we have these special spots for movies that maybe aren't super seen. This is a recommendation not for the audience so much as just the three of us. The other movie like that was called Talk to Her. We watched that movie 25 years ago, and we might need to watch it again. I recommend Talk to Her to all three of us. This is a Spanish movie by Pedro Almodovar about two very different men in two similar situations taking care of women in comas. This is a movie, gentlemen, that we have watched. Does anybody remember it?
Unfamiliar. Don't know it. Yes.
Exciting, interesting, and it's in a way like a companion piece to this movie. Like I think it really is a good recommendation, because there's like not a bad man in this movie. There's a universe of bad men.
Right.
And that's the same thing in Talk to Her.
And I mean, like, Talk to Her has its own issues that you have to deal with about like watching terrible, terrible people. I'm not going to compare Morvern to the nurse from Talk to Her,
as you should not,
as I should not. But just like this movie is complicated, huh?
That's a great rec. Greg, what do you got?
I read the book Morvern Callar in just the past couple of days, and if you liked the movie, I really do recommend reading the book. Not because you get because the way you don't get any more answers out of the book is interesting. The way that the book obscures the truth or obscures what's really going on with the character is different than the way the movie obscures what's going on with the character. But like, I read the book honestly as a way to try to understand the character of Morvern Callar a little bit better, and I was like, surely the book will make it clear. And the book is from her perspective and written in first person with some unusual slips into second person, which I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, except I think it sort of points to how she disassociates. But the book does not provide answers. It provides a different twist on the same questions. It doesn't say why she makes these choices. It just you just ride along with her while she doesn't think about making these choices, because instead she describes what the couch looks like in minute detail, or because she describes what her skincare routine is like in like Bateman American Psycho-esque attention to detail. And it's just interesting to watch how a different medium is able to capture the same feeling in a slightly different way.
It sounds like, having not read the book, incredible adaptation in that we don't really have a plot, but what this did for books, we're going to do for movies. You know, we're going to keep the spirit instead of the let's film every word.
Yeah, honestly, it's a great version of adapting a book into a screenplay, because every change, rather than like, why did they do that? It was like, yeah, that made that neater. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have a movie, you're going to have to make that choice right there. Yeah, okay, I see why you would combine those two things into one thing. Like, it's a masterclass in that. And arriving the same point by a completely different trail, you know, like getting there a different way, but still getting there.
Which means, like, not to go back to Zack Snyder and Watchmen, that means that you understood the book and made a movie instead of you typed down what you...
like looked at it and then remade it. This is what it looked like to me, everybody.
Did Lana say donkey in the book?
Yeah, but she says it way more Shrek-like in the book. She really leans on it.
Donkey!
A movie that kept ringing through my brain while watching this. It covers the complexities of female friendship and how just like society kind of sucks and smashes women down. And I think this is like 4 years ago at this point. Never, rarely, sometimes, always.
Yes, dude.
Shit.
You're so right. You're so right.
It's muted in a way and still in very indie and in very powerful.
We don't have a perfect relationship, but if you leave me, I die.
Yes.
No, I'm telling that to you too right now. I didn't hear what Mike just said.
No, Mike, I wish I had remembered to jot that one down, because that is like, I spent so much time thinking about that movie, because it's the same thing where you have to look at the main character's face and determine exactly what she feels, because she's not going to say, and there's not anybody who's going to pop up to tell you, and she's reserved, but her face does do enough to where if you study it very closely, you can see what she's thinking and feeling.
That, and we think that we are two characters going on a journey. What we don't know is that what the screenwriter and director are going to do is explain all of life while they watch that journey. Is what those two movies have in common.
While a character looks out a window.
Should we be looking out more windows to figure shit out?
Guys,
I
don't think about shit without looking out a window. And also, it's important that you take your glasses off and you bite one of the ear things.
Now, Ryan, it's been raining around my house lately, and when I look out the window, sometimes the water kind of runs down, and it's like as if I'm crying. Is that okay, or is that hack?
Greg, real quick, those are your actual tears. That's not rain.
Okay. That's what I was going to say, because also I taste them.
Yeah.
And I hear myself weeping.
And I can feel them going down my cheekies.
Yeah.
But that's the rain, right? Now is a sad time, especially since one of you just said, if you leave me, I will die. But one of you has to win, and one of you has to leave, and hopefully not die. Ryan, you got 64 points tonight.
64. I got 64.
Greg, you got 62 points. Ryan just scratched it out.
I was hoping that you would make up Scottish slang right there on the spot, Mike.
Slapped it down.
Sure.
Flimmed the... Nope. I can't. I'm not that clever.
It's so hard to make up slang, guys.
How do we think Morvern Callar is going to do?
I think it's gonna do pretty well.
Sleeper?
Yeah, sleeper, dark horse. I mean, ultimately, Ryan at the top of the show said it's not gonna capture that like Everybody in 2002 can't stop talking about Morvern Callar.
7 covers of Entertainment Weekly in a row have been showing off Morvern Callar.
And so I think that's going to keep it from actually winning, but I think it's got a chance to really knock off, some big movies just because it's such an impressive artistic feat.
How about this shit? You fucking assholes? Did Come and See win?
No.
How often do we bring up Come and See?
Yeah, all the
All
time.
of
Yeah,
the goddamn
definitely.
time.
What if it's that impact instead? What if for future seasons we're like, oh, this is a fucking Morvern Callar thing, Like maybe that's better than winning, because I think that's the sort of impact it had. I think it helped the social impact that it has, as limited as it is, probably hurts its chances. But that also helped its chances of smacking us in the fucking faces. And so I bet we bring this up
annoyingly
100 episodes. Yeah.
Amount.
I bet there's some audience members out there like, yes, you've seen Come and See. We get it. Shut the fuck up.
And if all we did was pick the best movie, then it would have an amazing chance.
Legit chance. And a ton of Moody's I feel like are in order.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, but this is the kind of thing where it's like only one movie wins, and so there has to be victories for some of the other movies, whether that's a bunch of Moody's or it just enters the show's sort of filmic lexicon.
Right, exactly.
They need their participation trophies, or else they're going to whine, these millennial movies.
I literally never got anything like a participation.
You never participated enough to get a trophy.
No, because I never would. Because they would be like, Greg, get in there. And I'd be like, no, I'm not going to participate.
Pass.
If you participate
I did,
in a system,
but I never demanded them.
No, I mean, that's the classic thing about them is that our boomer parents demanded that we get them and then give us shit for wanting them.
Fucking boomers, man. That is it for Morvern Callar. Coming up this season is Catch Me If You Can and Catch Me If You Can.
Guys.
Until then, keep watching that movie.